Hello and welcome. This is We Make Art, and I am your host, artist, and mentor, Sarah Rockwood. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to talk about something a little bit lighter than our previous episode. We are going to discuss the top 5 personal development books I would recommend to artists that have nothing to do with art. Yes, it is a mouthful. And yes, these books have nothing to do with art. Yeah, they have nothing to do with art making, artistic techniques, nothing. These are pure personal development books. Why? Why are these the ones I'm suggesting? Because my goal in this work we're doing here together in We Make Art, is to help us, me included, strip away the conditioning of society, the rules, the paradigms that we have been taught and praised for participating in, to strip that away and return to ourselves, return to what we want, how our minds work, how we want to relate to the world. And I think in that process, we discover our own artistic techniques, our own artistic development. That isn't to say don't read the books about artistic technique. I've read many of them. I'm laughing because one of my favorite ones is Michael Caine's On Acting. Really enjoyed it. David Mamet's, I want to call it Truth and Lies on Acting, is but don't quote me on the title there, is also very interesting. There are lots of really good books about people's experience with the artistic process or with the hard techniques of different mediums, of different art forms. And those are great to explore. By all means, explore them. But also explore yourself. Because the closer we get to our core self, I believe the more pure and unencumbered and unfiltered our relationship is with our art. So then maybe we don't need other people's technique books so much. Maybe they're just little dabbles here and there, and we focus on what we want and how we work in the work that we do. Work. Okay. So before I get into the list, I do want to say that of these 5 books, and there is a 6th bonus, but you got to stay to the end for that one. There isn't a single book that I would say I agree with every word of. I'm not presenting these as dogma. I think it is really important for us to go into personal development books, basically any book, basically any medium, any art you consume, to go into it with your critical thinking hat on, and be present with what you are consuming so you can explore what works for you, what resonates with you, what challenges you, and what has no application to your life, and interact with the information accordingly. So my goal is that these books spark some moments of insight for you, get you thinking about things in a different way, get you relating to yourself in a different way, and that feeds into your art making in some capacity, in a capacity that only you will be able to discern, which is the wonderful magic of all of this work, is that we get to be completely ourselves in it. Okay, so I'm going to go through them in my recommended listening order. If you've listened to a lot of personal development books, maybe you dip in and out of the list where you see fit. But if you've never embarked on these, I would recommend hitting them up in the list order that I'm presenting them in. And they are, I should say this, none of this is sponsored. I'm not putting affiliate links up, links. I'm not putting affiliate links up anywhere. What I will say is that all of the audiobook versions of these books are available on Spotify Premium. Again, not sponsored. And I've put together a playlist over there with all of the books. So I will share that playlist on my Instagram and put it in a highlight. So if you're listening to this, whenever you're listening to it, you can go into my Instagram and it'll see the highlight. I think I'll just call it like top 5 books or something simple. And you can find the playlist there. So with all that being said, let us begin. Okay, the first book on my list here is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. I'm holding this up on the YouTube and it's completely messing with my lights, so I won't do it for too long. And I just want to show you here on my, and for those of you just listening, I'll do one of these. ASMR alert. There are more, it looks like there are more tabs and post-its in this book and highlighted sections than book itself. Like I went hard on this book because it was the first book I read. It was I should say this. It was recommended to me by the first coach I worked with in like our first or second session. There are a lot of firsts around this book. It's weird. And I was really at the beginning of my life. I mean, I really feel that now looking back that, you know, I think this is like April, May of 2022. I really needed my life to change. I was in an abusive relationship. I was living in a horrible building. It was very dangerous. And I was quickly on my way to broke. Like and my health, oh my God, my health was so bad. And I just knew that everything had to change. Like everything had to change. But every time I tried to change things, I would bounce back to where I was, or even bounce back 2 or 3 steps. And The Big Leap talks about the upper limit problem. Somebody calls it, I need to check. The upper limit problem. Yes. For a second there, I was like, is it a problem or a syndrome? No, it's a problem. This idea that we get to a point in our lives where we are comfortable. And as we start to rise above that comfort point, into something bigger, better, more abundant, bolder, more in touch with our deep desires, we start to self-sabotage to bring us back to the point that we are comfortable at. Reading this book really put a lot of my own behaviors at the time in perspective for me. The behaviors of those around me that I knew instinctually were toxic, but could not label, could not name. It helped me begin to really piece together what was happening within me and around me. And I at that time, it was the year of Will Smith slapping Chris Rock at the Oscars. And when that happened, I mean, my God, yes, it was all shocking, and we won't get in. We're not going to litigate that again because, you know, I have thoughts on everything. And I remember saying to my coach after it happened, we were talking about it, and I said, well, it's an upper limit issue. Like that was the most blatant upper limit issue I think we've ever seen. And he was like, yeah, you're right. That moment where Will Smith was poised to make that goal that he'd wanted his whole life, to win the Oscar, to get there. And in that moment, the nervous system kind of goes haywire and you end up self-sabotaging. So not that we're all self-sabotaging, that's all the time or anything, but we do it. We do it. And we do it because we desire to stay safe. And this book talks about feeling safe regardless of where you are, or as you ascend, feeling safe through all of that. And the other thing it gets into in great detail is finding your zone of genius, what lights you up, and working from there, and building your life around that area. You can't see it on the video or hear it on the audio, but I am drawing an energetic circle around my heart. It's that finding that place that lights us up and building a life from that place. So that is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Oh, and the quote, I wrote it down, so I want to share it. One of the quotes in the book that really hit me and that I still go back to is, "Fear is excitement without the breath." Yeah. So anytime I feel like, oh, I'm getting scared, I'm like, wait a second, is it fear or is it excitement? Let's take a deep breath, Sarah, and find out. And more often than not, I can, tell you it's excitement that I'm feeling. So once again, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. So this next one is one that I found on my own. I can't remember how I came across it. I believe it was like 2020, heart of the pandemic, where I wasn't ready to take action on improving my life, nor do I think that was an option in 2020 because, the world was haywire. But I felt called to it. And it is Overcoming Under-Earning by Barbara Stanny. Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to frame it on the video. Ring light. Okay. Anyway, I know fancy YouTubers, like, it's probably even not that fancy. They do the little in-screen book cover and stuff. I don't know how to do that, so I'm not doing it. Okay. So this book is part book and part workbook. And, oh God, at the time, my nervous system was so shot. Although I would recommend this at any point in time, I would listen to the audiobook while reading the book and filling out the exercises. So someone was reading it to me and I was looking at the words just to try and get everything into my brain. And it's interesting, when I was preparing for this, I looked back at some of the stuff I wrote 2020, 2021, about like where I wanted my life to go and things. And I can see the beginnings. I can see that what I want for my life has been with me for a long time, which is why I talk so much about returning to the self, returning to what we truly want, because I think our dreams and our desires have been with us for a lot longer than we realize and do represent something essential and true about ourselves. Yes. So, and I do also understand that this can be a confronting concept, overcoming under-earning. And I want to read to you the definition of an under-earner, because I think it does align with some of the conversations we've had around the starving artist. Okay. Definition of an under-earner: one who earns less than her potential despite her need or desire to do otherwise. Under-earning is not the same as voluntary simplicity, which is a conscious choice to live on less in order to create a simpler, saner life. An under-earner is not the same as a mindful low earner, someone who enjoys her work because it feeds her soul and also provides adequate income. Under-earning is a condition. I'll try that again. Under-earning is a condition of deprivation in which your emotional and/or physical needs are not being met. That feels a lot like the starving artist to me. And so this book works through those, I want to say core concepts, works through how that kind of weaves through us and comes out in, yes, how we earn money. So it uses life coaching style questions to get us to explore our relationship with money, which is pretty powerful stuff. I mean, we interact with money all the time. So to avoid it is to avoid a huge part of society. society, our societal experience, something like that. You know, to avoid money is to avoid a big part of life. So Overcoming Under-Earning by Barbara Stanny, an excellent book to begin the exploration of how you relate with money. Okay, and so this next book I don't own a physical copy of because I don't want my mother to see it on my bookshelf. And it is Difficult Mothers, Adult Daughters by Karen C.L. Anderson. And I'm just going to hopefully this. Yes, that was me holding up the book cover to the screen, but I only have a picture of it on my phone because, like I said, I don't own a copy of that book, a physical copy of it. It does what it says on the cover. It is a book about how we relate to our mothers. This book is empowering. If you are an adult daughter with a difficult mother, I cannot recommend this book highly enough. I'm in the middle of my third or fourth, I think it's my fourth listen to this book. And I can tell you it has helped my relationship with my mom so much, so much. And whenever things get a little tense, a little sticky, I pull out the book and I listen to it again, which is why I'm listening to it again right now. Yeah. Because it's a process. No, it's an incredibly powerful book, an empowering book, because it really gets you to see that you get to decide what your mother's behavior means in your life, and you get to choose how you feel about it. Not that that's an easy thing to do, but that it can be done. And it really walks you through that process, and to be able to see, well, for me anyway, to be able to see where my mom's behavior comes from, where that, pain begats pain. Like, her mom wasn't that great to her either. And my grandmother's mother wasn't great to her either. Like, we can see back through the lineage, and it doesn't excuse the behavior, but it helps us frame it in a way that doesn't make us bad people, that doesn't comment on our self-worth. Yeah, and it really lets you see that you can do the work yourself and have the relationship improve without your mother doing anything. I can tell you that from experience. Like, my mom maybe goes to therapy 3 times a year. Yes, I get her in there even once is a great thing, but 3 times a year, maybe. So I do my own work, and that work informs our relationship, and our relationship has improved as a result. So yeah, difficult mothers. I was about to say difficult daughters, but we're perfect. What are we worried about? Difficult Mothers, Adult Daughters by Karen C.L. Anderson. A really good text to delve into if you at times have issues with your mother. This next book I have only listened to once so far, but I found it so powerful. I know I keep saying that word, and I know I'm going to go back to listen to this book over and over again. Like, this is a text that I'm going to return to and delve into because it spoke so clearly to me. And it is Fawning by Dr. Ingrid Clayton. And I'm going to just show the cover from my phone here on the YouTubes. Oh, that ring light. There we go. I want to read you. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm so excited. Okay, I want to read you the quote from the front of the book from Dr. Ramani. I don't know if you've seen Dr. Ramani on YouTube. She talks about narcissism. Her whole account is about narcissism and recovering from narcissistic abuse fantastic material. Helped me a lot. All right, her quote here on the beginning of the book, or on the cover of the book. Anyone who has ever people-pleased, self-silenced, tried to be perfect, or apologized to someone who is harming them must read this book. I think that's the experience of almost every single woman I've met in the arts. Right there. So fawning is the fourth of the four F types, right? So we have fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And the brilliant thing about this book is that it acknowledges where fawning comes from, that it is a survival skill that we learned very young. You know, I am a hardcore fawner. I think people in my life would say that I'm a fighter only because, one, they don't really know what the four types are about and all of the details. And two, because when I get pushed to a certain point, I will get very loud and very like, don't fuck with me. I will get to that place. But those are in very extreme situations. That's not the same as having a fight response to things. No, I have a fawn response. I have the, jazz hands. Hello, my baby. Like, I'm ready to like put on a little show. The minute things get tense. And I know a lot of us in this world, a lot of us listening to this podcast, are in that same place. And in addition to exploring where fawning comes from, Dr. Ingrid also frames it as a powerful survival skill and discusses how to unravel it from our lives. Because I think a lot of this thing about like, I got to stop people pleasing, or I'm such a doormat. We think that these are, and it's implied to us that these are personality traits. Like you got to get rid of part of your personality to stop people pleasing. When again, it goes back to feelings of safety. We fawn because we feel unsafe. We people please because we feel unsafe. It's not actually our personality. It is a tactic that we are using to stay safe. So we work on finding safety in ourselves. And the fawning dissipates and begins to dissolve. And Dr. Ingrid shares a lot of her own personal experiences, and it is a difficult listen at times, the abuse that she went through as a child and how that contributed to her own fawning and how that played out in her relationships and in the work she does with people. Like, it was a very, I'm going to say empowering again. I need a thesaurus. But it was really heartening to listen to a woman who I think is around my age. I'm going to say, early 40s-ish, to listen to a woman whose journey is very similar to my own, like share struggles that are similar to my own and how she's come through it. And I do think it will resonate with a lot of listeners. And it's a pretty recent book, but yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. Just like every other book on this. Again, I should have got a thesaurus out before I did this episode. But yes, that is Fawning by Dr. Ingrid. But that is Fawning by Dr. Ingrid Clayton. All right, we are at book number 5, but there is a bonus book coming, so hang on. This is the book you got to listen to last because it requires the biggest critical thinking cap of all of the books. And I'll explain why after I tell you the title. It is 10x is Easier Than 2x by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Okay, Why do you need a big critical thinking cap when you read this book? Because it is written from an American entrepreneurial perspective, which is big money. We're going to make big money. We're going to make a big company. We're going to make big money. So that can be quite activating for people if that doesn't align with your views. But there's still value in the book, I think, even if you're not into that world. And also there is a lot of like just American-centric businesses. I by no means am shitting on Americans here, but there is a whole chapter that is around, talks about the growth of a business that is focused on gun safety for homeowners. As a Canadian, I'm like, well, just don't have them in your home. Seems pretty safe. Seems like that might help, solve that problem. But, so that can be, again, activating. The first time I listened through to this book, that chapter just inflamed me. I couldn't really focus on the information because of that topic. The second time I listened, I was able to kind of sift through and land into, well, the good that business did within the paradigm of the United States and also the lessons underneath it. So yeah, you need a big critical thinking hat on when you're engaging in this book. That being said, I fucking love it. I love it. It is like the big leap on steroids. Here we go. So there is a passage in it. It talks a lot about defining your unique ability and stripping everything out of your life that does not have to do with that unique ability, which I love. I love that idea. Is it something that's available to all of us immediately? No. But it's a really good thing to have in mind as we're working on returning to the self. That's how I read it. Like the unique ability, we could call it like, oh, I'm the best in the world at doing widget A into widget B. Or in the case of artists, I'm the best in the world at my art, as who I am. And what do I need to strip out of my life to be more and more of who I am? That's what inspires me. And he talks a lot about the horizon, aiming for the horizon. But the horizon never arrives. You can't touch the horizon. The horizon is always in the distance. And letting that pull us forward. That really lit me up. But I want to read this passage first. Okay, so this is a quote from one of the authors, Dan Sullivan, around unique ability. Clarify and define your unique ability. Unique ability requires you to determine what you personally like and dislike doing and decide that others' opinions about it are irrelevant. The basis of unique ability is to continually be conscious of the activities and the settings you like and that energize you, and the things that don't. This is where freedom starts, with the understanding that your own judgments about your own experience are 100% valid. Bam, mic drop. Yes, that is, for me, that's a core part of being an artist, that I get to decide whether or not my work is good, is valid. Like, I get that from me and my, I just get so excited about it. So yeah, the other thing the book really lit me up about because around unique ability, because a lot of books talk about finding your niche or niche for my American friends, finding your niche and then stay in your niche and drive off into the sunset through your niche. But what Dan Sullivan talks about in 10x is easier than 2x is that your unique abilities change over time. What you are amazing at today, when you're in this work, will grow and evolve into something different in the future. And as an artist, Oh, that is such a relief. It's such a relief because I can see it in my own life. At 19, if you'd asked me what my unique ability was, or where I most strongly performed, it was acting. It was like, well, I'm just a straight actor. That's what I do. If you'd asked me at 34, I'm like, well, I'm a songwriter. That's what I do. If you ask me now, I'm like, oh, I'm not sure yet. It's kind of an amalgamation of a lot of different things. Like, that's where I'm excited about books like this, because it gets me to really look at where I am in my life, where I want to be in my life, and what's the ooey goodness, that ooey gooey, that's what I was trying to say, the ooey gooey goodness that's going to take me there and let me enjoy the pleasure of the journey as well. So that is 10x is Easier Than 2x by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Okay, this last one is for my woo-woo girlies, for the spiritual girlies, which I count myself among. And it is You Were Born for This, Astrology for Radical Self-Acceptance by Chani Nicholas. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the unicorn bookmark I colored in like 2 years ago. Ah, dear. Yeah. Astrology isn't for everyone. And I'm by no means an expert in astrology, and I by no means say that you must know astrology. For me, my experience with it is that once I started to pay attention to what the planets were doing and how it related to my full birth chart, my life got easier. That's just my experience with it. That's just my experience. I have used astrology not to make decisions on my life. Like, I know what I'm not looking to the stars to decide like what I'm going to actually do. But if it comes to like when to launch a project, when to have a difficult conversation, I will look at the astrology and see what is coming up, what will make it easier. If the planets are going to do a certain thing on a certain date that would align better with launching a new course, well then why don't I just move the launch a week later and do it on that date? And the more I do those kinds of things in my life, the more and pay attention to the phases of the moon, the easier life gets for me. That is my experience with it. And for me, really understanding my sun, my moon, and my rising signs has been a game changer for my understanding of myself. Because I am a Pisces, right? I'm a Pisces. But I don't present in a quote unquote typical, I'm doing air quotes, Pisces fashion. Like I'll say to people I'm a Pisces and they'll be like, no, you're not. I'm like, I think I fucking know what I am. And then they're like, well, you wouldn't swear if you're a Pisces. I'm like, okay. And I didn't really understand where like my fiery core comes from, or my ambition and drive and organization. Like, these are not typical Pisces characteristics associated with Pisces. That is, Pisces are like the artists and the psychics and the dreamers and I am all of those things. And also, my moon is in Aries and my rising sign is Capricorn. And when you put those three together, I'm like, it describes me to a T. My sun sign is this. My relation to myself is art, is the depths, is the underworld, the Pisces energy, the swirling, the depths of the ocean. My moon, so my body and my emotions and my response to conflict is fiery. It's funny, the more I exercise, the more I work on dancing, the more I get in my body, like the more alive I feel. And that comes from or you could say it comes from that Aries moon, and like, don't fuck with me. Like, just don't do it, and oh God, don't fuck with someone I love or someone around me I think, you're treating unfairly. Like, then I go full Aries. I'm not having it. And again, it has that like depth of the ocean behind it. So I've seen grown men flinch. I have. I'm not entirely proud of it, but just a little, And then the Capricorn, the rising. So how the world sees me, how I kind of relate to the outside world, and how the planets relate to me, and the Capricorn characteristics come out through organization, through drive, through ambition. I dress very Capricorny. There is such a thing. If there's such a thing, there is such a thing. It's a lot of black. It's a lot of clean cut. I mean, it's that center part. My eyebrows are very Capricorny. Which I know if you're not in this world will sound ridiculous, but it's me. It's me. And so this book really, and she has an app, which is excellent, the Chani app, which there's so much on that app, and there is quite a bit for free available through that app. Again, not sponsored, just enjoy it. So yeah, You Were Born for This really goes through, it's a bit of a choose your own adventure, right? Like, you're putting in your own chart, learning your chart, learning all the things about yourself that the planets reveal. And I really enjoyed reading it, and it had a big impact on me. Okay, so that is the list. And as I said at the beginning, I have created a Spotify playlist with all of the audiobooks from this episode, and I will highlight that in my Instagram. So in my Instagram profile, you know where the highlights are. We're all in this world. We know what Instagram is and how it works. So you can find the playlist in there if you want to check out the audiobooks. I think it's just with audio. The audiobooks are just with Spotify Premium. I'm not entirely sure, but I will put the playlist there so you can see them. And I'm sharing these books so it can spark some change. It's really, I love audiobooks for this reason. I mean, by all means, read the paperbacks, read the ebooks, whatever you want, however you want to relate to the work. But I love audiobooks in that you can have them going in the car. You can have them going while you're doing the dishes. You can have them going while you're folding laundry, while you're doing these tasks that, you might zone out with. They can kind of percolate. So let these books get the ball rolling. Let them get your thoughts percolating on how you really want to live. And then when you're ready to take action, if you feel called, head over to rockwoodalchemy.com. The link is in the show notes below. And explore my courses, explore my offerings. See if there's something there that will help with structure and help move you forward into the next phase of your growth and development, because we can live lives that we enjoy and that are full of art. Okay, that's it for today. I will talk to you soon. Until next time.